And the zero-sum game means, it's either this or that, and not a collective together. And the reason I bring that together is because when we thought a lot about access for children, we didn't just think about some kids, we were thinking about all kids. We have some schools already in our school district based on the old design that are doing pretty well, right? And I would argue it's based on the old construct design. And the question that we asked was, what is a design where all kids can do well regardless? Right? Because we have children in East Baton Rouge who are also doing well from an academic standpoint, from a grading space. But we always want to make sure that people can see that when we are putting things together, we're talking about all children. Our system currently is working tremendously to make sure that when you have children, when they go to school, in the state, out of the state, they're connected more to industry-based work and they can go and get jobs. Because the children need jobs, regardless of what school you go to, whether it's an Ivy League school, not an Ivy League, whether it's this college or that. And the reason I bring this up is because one of the challenges I've always wanted to be clear about is, even when I talk to our post-secondary partners, whether it was with BRCC, Southern, LSU, and different folks, is we as a community work so much better when we can see value in something for different communities and different group of folks. We work so much less when we see it's this or that. And sometimes, just being honest, sometimes those things happen in our community. We tend to see it's for this group, not that group, or for this or for that. And what I tell folks is, since I've become a proud resident of Baton Rouge, I always see when they talk about Baton Rouge, they talk about Baton Rouge. Doesn't matter what part of the city you live in, what church you go to, what community you live in. The reality is it's one city. And we all benefit as a city when all of us are benefiting in this work together. This is why I'm so excited about when we started to go down this road with our business partners to make sure that we push this not only for some schools, but for all schools. We not only push this for one community, but for all communities. We not only push this to one child to do well, but every child in the school system to do well. And this is, you may think this is corny, I tell folks, but the reality is, as a city, we have to do better in that space. And it's important for me as a superintendent that we always push that, because our community at times can get divided in a lot of different ways, and that does not benefit us as a city. And so I just wanted to be able to share that. One thing I told the board when they hired me is that you can go back to the YouTube. I'm going to be really honest with you. That will mean I may not have a whole lot of friends. But one thing you won't say is I won't tell you the truth. And the truth is that as a city, we have to continue to push together, even as the mayor talks about that as well, and our board members, that we have to benefit collectively as a city, because it's important for East Baton Rouge Parish School System to be known as an innovative city that is collectively moving the work together. One thing I just want to recognize is, is there any pastors in the room or reverend? If you are a pastor or reverend, if you could just raise your hand if you're in the room. I know we invited some folks. Let's give them a hand. Invitation to pastors in the city, because the reality is we cannot do this work without community members and support. If you are a community partner, if you work in the community, if you can raise your hand too, if you are here, anyone that's in the community, there you go, let's raise your hand. We do not work in isolation. He doesn't like the and I know it's important for us to continue to do that as we build on this work together. So, with that being said, while you're eating, I'm going to introduce to you, coming up as our next speaker will be Dr. Kim Hunter-Reid. As you know, she's the Louisiana Commissioner of Higher Education. Dr. Reid has led this work in a lot of places. Super excited that she was here to take some time out of her schedule to come and talk to us. I tell folks when you join us, and every time I get questions, they say, well, is this group look for you or that group? I tell folks, you just go right to the top. And you'll hear directly from Commissioner Reid about this work, which they've been pushing for a while, but trying to get us to accelerate that to bring kids' dreams closer to them. Let's give a hand to Dr. Kim Hunter-Reid.
the opportunity to be with you today for this exciting event. I want to first thank my board chair, Bobby, for being here today, and Thomas Temple, who was here but had to slip out to an event for his daughter. But our chair and our board, and I know your board is here as well, boards are so important to this work. And our chair talks about a golden ticket of opportunity. And we heard today from Jada, 14, and my goodness, she did a fantastic job at this podium. Let's give her a round. But the golden ticket that my chair talks about is this idea that to ensure and to secure a brighter future for students like Jada and thousands of others in EBR and thousands and tens of thousands across the state of Louisiana, we have to educate, innovate, and collaborate in new ways, in ways that recognize that education and employment pipelines have to be a reality for every student, for not just some students. And so Jada has a t-shirt that says first class on the back. She is first class, no doubt about it. But we know that because of this event, Bright Futures, there will be a second class and a class after that. And we know that will make a difference in EBR. And so I thank the system, the EBR system. I congratulate you, I congratulate the board, and certainly the superintendent for his innovation and collaboration and his passion for this work. It takes passion and commitment to advance work and to transform systems so that more people have opportunity than ever before. And I certainly want to thank our amazing Chancellor, Willie Smith, for his leadership and his commitment, this dynamic duo. There's nothing that they cannot get done. I've been in lunch meetings and dinner meetings with the two of them, elbowing in, trying to get a comment in while they're talking to each other. Just mutual admiration, but a mutual passion to make sure that students have what they need. In a knowledge economy where education has so much value, and the economy cripples those that do not have access to education and training, we know that this is not a luxury, this is a necessity. And so today, we're very excited to come and be here and certainly see the mayor, Sharon Western Broom, who is always doing phenomenal things in EBR. So I thank her for her leadership as well. The Board of Regents is the state's policy and advocacy agency. We have a big goal that we double the number of credentials in Louisiana by 2030. Not because we think this is a moonshot about numbers, but because we know this is a moonshot about people and about prosperity in our state. And we know that this opportunity, this Bright Futures opportunity, is designed to be an option multiplier for students. And that's what our students need, more options than ever before. When I saw Jada come and stand here, and I've been peppering her with questions about her French class and her geography class and why she chose Glen Oaks and what she's doing, when I talk with her, I see a student who has confidence that I did not have as a ninth grader at 14. A student who understands that there are people who believe in her and are invested in her success, so she is more likely than ever before to soar, because we've said to her, you matter, and we're all here rooting for you. A student who recognizes that other people are rooting her on, and a student who knows that because her future is bright, the future of others will be bright as well. You saw in the video that dual enrollment matters for students because statistically students who participate in college in high school have an opportunity to go on to college and are more likely to succeed. And the cycle continues because we know as we celebrate commencements this month and in May and in the summer that college students, their children, are much more likely to be college graduates as well. But as the superintendent said, this is not just about that piece of paper that says that you have a credential. It's where that credential will take you. The brighter future is not just the promise of more education. It's the promise of more education that provides you a credential of value that you can monetize. Monetize your passion to head into the world of work, to do great things, to create great jobs, to build great jobs in our state and across this nation. And so for us at the Board of Regents, we have been working diligently to make sure not just that we get more kids to college, but that we get more college to high school students in their supportive high school, integrated into their day, with all kinds of supports around them so that they can soar. We know that that matters, and I think it's time for us as a community, as a state, as a nation, to say that dual enrollment is for everyone. Whether you want to be an electrician or an engineer, an accountant or an app or coder, everyone needs an opportunity to find their unlimited potential, their path, and that is what this program is about. We are about today propelling students into a brighter future. The other thing I would say is, as we exhale and get ready for the holidays, it has been a difficult 2 years. Pandemic, hurricanes, racial unrest, snowstorms, floods, so much has happened in our state. But one thing that our board has said to us is we're going to use the disruptions not as an excuse to step back from our work, but an accelerator to do more good work. And so today I celebrate this opportunity because innovation is happening here. Innovation that is focused on our students. And I know that great things will happen as a result. And so as we accelerate innovation, as we redesign high schools, as we reimagine the future of all of our students, we know that the futures of these students, Jada and those that she represents in EBR and beyond, will be bright. It is my hope that other school districts around this state will follow suit with EBR and say we too need a bright future for our students, all of our students. And as a result of that commitment, Louisiana will prosper. Our families and our communities will prosper and continue to do great things. And so I wanted to come today with my chairman to say thank you for your commitment to this work. Change is hard, but transformation is necessary. And it is important that we advocate for every child in this parish, in this state, and in this nation. And so it is our honor to be here in a room full of advocates and champions who have said we have to do this not because it's easy, but because it's hard, because it's necessary, and because our children, like Jada, deserve the best that we have to offer. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Charles Masters, Senior Partner and Client Service Leader at IBM. Let's give Charles a hand.
Hey everybody, I see lots of friends and colleagues out there. It's just awesome to be here to address you. And what I'd like to share is from an industry partner perspective. I think I speak for many of the industries that are out there in EBR on how we can help. So that's the profile of what I'd like to speak to you about today. So my team, and I see a few team members in here, they always laugh at me and say that I always talk in threes. So I have 3 points, 3 observations, and each of the 3 observations have 3 points. So I'm going to take about 7 minutes. So here they are. Number 1, how do business leaders fit in and support the initiatives that we've been hearing about today? So how do we support? Number 2, what are some real-life solutions that we can leverage from a business perspective? Can't wait to talk about that, things that we've been doing over the last couple of years. And then 3rd, what have we learned? What has the IBM team learned? I should say, what has Charles Masters, me, learned over the last couple of years as we started this? I remember our first BRCC mic. I remember when the Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge IBM had 0 associate hires, 0 people straight from our community college. And now they're all over our building and doing wonderful. So let's get going. I'm going to quote a few things that you have here. So how does business relate to what we're hearing about today? And I've got 3 points. And I'm going to have to read these because I don't have them memorized, so I'm really stealing your work here, okay? So number 1, we need to accelerate the number of students that learn industry-based credentials that meet the city's needs from 8th grade to graduation. That's number 1. And how are we doing that in IBM? And I'll tell you some more details in a minute. coding camps, Girls Who Code, the Congressional Act Challenge that we work with Congressman Graves, volunteering in middle schools and high schools. Number 2, against stealing work. Accelerating the number of students graduating on time with associate degrees and a statewide industry-based credential and who are eligible for TOPS. Work that we do as IBM with our community colleges. We've done for recruiting fairs there. We've been in here a lot. Guiding the curriculum of West Hog. Providing free learning, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And of course apprentices, which I can't wait to talk about. And we're going to take apprentices at scale. And then third, on how we connect with the business. And it's really around how we will educate and prepare. So I'm also a member of the CEOs for EBR. And we kind of have 3 things that we do, always 3, right? And they are, number 1, that education needs to be business-led. Hello, I'm IBM. All right. Number 2, industry-specific, and I'm the technology part of that industry. There's other industries that are equally or maybe even more awesome, but I'm the technical guy. And then number 3, solution-oriented. Solution-oriented. This isn't just about talk, right? This is about helping students. So let's jump into that. So. What are our solutions? I'm going to give you just 3. All right. Number 1 is PTech. And before I get into that, I'm going to do a personal thing. I'm kind of attributing and doing this in honor of Michael Dale. He was our HR partner. He recently passed away from cancer. And he actually stood on the stage with the governor and a few others that are here when we made Pathways in Technology early college, high school a reality. He was a huge advocate. And so PTech is the entire high school. I'll say we only have at this point 52 students in that program. We're 3 years in. 9th grade, do what I'll call 14th grade, okay? Pre-college, thank you, Veterans Community College, thank you, State of Louisiana. And it's going awesome. Every single student in that program gets a one-on-one buddy from IBM. Every one of those students that are in that program are learning what companies like IBM need. Those students, most of those students in that program, you know, they don't have a mom or dad that went to college, and that's okay, right? But this is a real game changer for those students. And what I really like about what we're talking about here today is this is just one example. You know, I'm kind of calling it one example, but really what we're talking about here today is taking something like that PTech program and doing it at scale, much larger scale. And that's where businesses come in. I mean, IBM is just one. You're probably thinking of the building downtown, right? But there's a lot of other great businesses that all need to get in. I love how I heard the word lift. A lot of people up here are saying the word lift, right? So when you lift, lots of people lifting together, the work is light, right? That's really what business community.
Of course, thank you. Oh, yeah.
So that's my first initiative, right? So the second initiative, equally my favorite, is the apprentice program. And we're gonna take our apprentice program with what we've heard about today at scale, okay, in high school. Our apprentice program at IBM is for people that have graduated from high school, no college degree required. And you come in as a full IBMer, 401k, great salary, and all of those things. And we've been doing that at scale with about 50 per year for the last 3 years. And it is just an absolutely wonderful program. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I've learned during that program, that apprenticeship program. It's a really word that's coming back very popular, right, on the news and in the world today. But I really believe in the world today, even in technology, that apprentice programs absolutely work. It is very much about those skills and experiences that the potential employee brings to the table. One of the examples that I will give, I won't give any names, but in one of our recruiting events a couple years ago, before we had apprentices, we had someone come right out of high school, relatively, you know, we got all the LSU grads, we got all their Southern grads, we got high school grads, okay? And somebody that was really put together and could really communicate well. And at the end of the interview, unfortunately, we didn't hire this person, but this high school student said, well, what do I need? what do I need? Like, specific. Like, what do I need? We said, well, you need to learn how to code in Java, and maybe a little bit of Oracle, a little bit of Microsoft. And so the student came back the next year and we hired him. No college. But you can go online nowadays and do a coding camp. You can get certified for a few $1,000 in this. You gotta be pretty brilliant, you gotta be self-motivated, right? So this person came back with all the certifications, all the experiences, no college. Immediately we hired this person and they've excelled. So for our higher ed community here, of course, companies like IBM will hire PhDs, masters, bachelor of sciences, and lots of them. What we're doing now, and I think it's really a trend in the technology industry, is about 20%. About 20% of those hundreds of people being hired are apprentices, no college degree required. One of the reasons I know this thing will scale is when we open a typical requirement to hire somebody in Baton Rouge for a college expert, right? Someone with a college degree, we'll get a few hundred people apply. That's a lot. Put in an associate, we get thousands, no kidding. Thousands of people applying for that job. And I'll also say, just so you can tell I love associates, one of the things that we find with our associates when we're doing things with clients, we're like, wow, that person did awesome. What's the profile? Apprentice. Over and over again, apprentices rise to the top. All right, the third, number 3, okay, in solutions that we've implemented is really about skilling and free things you can do online. We have a great program with Baton Rouge Community College called Skills Build PR. You can Google it. It'll take you to the site. You log in. We had like 250 people in the first day or two. I've lost track of how many people have partnered with Baton Rouge Community College and IBM, and it's completely free. If you're like, hey, I'm interested in coding, I'm interested in Agile or project management or programming or web development, you can go online and get free education in that. So let me close with 3 points on my observations and what I've learned. And I've learned a lot. I've been with IBM. This is crazy. 33 years. Oh my goodness, right? Wow. When I tell students that, they just like, it doesn't compute. But what have I learned? And again, I remember when the Baton Rouge, IBM, think about the big building, all those floors, like literally everybody was higher ed. Nobody was community college. Now you see lots of community college, you see a lot of interns, you see a lot of apprentices. Number 1, we need more pathways. I just love how I just keep hearing that word pathways, right? But in reality, what businesses need is I love and hate to use these words, there's a war on talent, right? For the really great paying jobs and the really great companies, there's just not enough people that fit the requirements for that job. And so there's a war on talent. That's one of the things I've learned. It's just, there's an absolute war. Now, here's the deal. For the students, and we've got a lot of students in here, for the students, that's totally great. That means people are like fighting. There's a war over getting you to come work for us, right? Great. And that war with the pandemic and where the world's going today, we're just going to need more and more training. Credentialed, that's another word. We call it certified. We all call it credentialed. You know, that is where it's at. That war is going to be stronger and stronger. So I think all the initiatives that we're hearing about here today, the brighter future and everything, is just perfect. Number 2, it's all about the skills. It's all about the skills, right? Especially for the students that are in here or parents, things like, and I'm talking to the technology industry, coding camps, hackathons, industry certifications, skills builds I talked about with Baton Rouge Community College. These are the differentiators in hiring. Okay, so LSU grad plus a coding camp, you know, a Southern grad with some of these things, Baton Rouge Community College with some of these things, or someone that's an apprentice with some of these things truly make the difference. It is all about skills. And the third point, and my final point, that really is one that I didn't expect at all, is as we brought in apprentices, interns, people from community college with associate degrees, it really made our organization so much better, okay? There was a diversity of thought, right? I mean, you don't want everybody from Southern with a PhD, they think a certain way, right? You don't want everybody who's a Bachelor of Science from LSU or from whatever college, Georgia Tech, whatever. We can go outside of the state, right? You don't want everybody that just kind of thinks the same way. We've got a real diversity in our innovation by getting people that have come to IBM through different paths. My favorite word, kind of with this pathway, is grit. What we really find is a lot of people that come through this pathway have a tremendous amount of grit. I mentioned this a minute ago, but I'll say it again. I can't tell you how many times something's happened. Let's say we're taking a really hard, I'll get technical on your AWS cloud certification, right? I mean, these are no joke certifications, like study really, really hard, right? And somebody will get, this like really happened, someone got 100%. Like that literally doesn't happen. There's no way you can cheat either, okay? I mean, it was 100%. Like, who in the world is the what? Okay, apprentice. Didn't even go to college. Came right out of high school. Like, that's a real story. Happens over and over again. I call that grit, because that doesn't just happen. That's a work ethic, right? Really making it happen. And then I'll kind of close with this point. The last thing that it really did for our organization to really make us better was to see our team give back, right? And that was unexpected for me. So as you know, those 52 IBM employees that are personally one-on-one mentoring someone from Tower High School, or when I've been out, I loved it when we could go into the middle schools before pandemic happened. Those people get jazzed up and they love our company. They love IBM, not because of what we're doing or even our clients, but because they're able to help people in the community. That was an absolutely huge give back. So thank you so much for taking all my 3 points.
All right, so we have one last speaker, and our last speaker will be Tramel Howard. Tramel Howard, as many people know, has served on the Board of Education as a member, and what people don't always know is that he is the Executive Director for Education Trust in Louisiana. And many of you may or may not know, but Education Trust is actually across the country, and each state has this, and they are advocates for making sure that children are getting quality education and pushing the envelope around how to do work for advancement of children across this country, not just our state. Just so happened, lucky for us, that person sits on my board, which I'm very thankful for because it makes it easier when we talk about making sure that all children have opportunity and access, that you have that voice sitting at the board just as much as all of our board members push for that. And so I just wanted to make sure that that we really understand that this fight, if you get nothing out of today, I tell folks, is the achievement gap is an economic gap. And if we close the economic gap in our city, then the gap for achievement actually closes as well. So just want to make sure we get that message now. So I'd like to introduce you to Tramel Howard. Listen, man.
Good afternoon, everyone. As he stated, I'm Tramel Howard. Before I start, I'm talking 30s, so you don't have to take out your notebook to get them threes. But I would also just like to give a round of applause to Jada. As a former teacher, it just gives me so much joy to see students actualize visions and success in our city. So let's just give Jada a round. So as Dr. Narcisse mentioned, I'm Tramel Howard. I currently serve as a state director for the Education Trust in Louisiana, and I proudly represent District 3 as the member of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. Growing up in a single-parent home with a teenage mom, it had its shares of issues, but it never stopped me from believing in the power of education. I thoroughly believe education saved my life, and as we, as the leaders in this room, must do everything in our power to ensure that we eliminate barriers and provide access to all students within our area. Today, I will be speaking to you in my capacity as the State Director of the Education Trust. The Education Trust is a national nonprofit that advocates daily on behalf of students of color and students from low-income backgrounds. Since the beginning of the Dual Enrollment Task Force, we have heard from teachers, students, parents, educators, counselors, and school leaders about their experience with dual enrollment. The overarching theme throughout these conversations has been access, and you've heard it a lot here today. It was painful to hear a student from right here in Baton Rouge that stated the reason he never sought out dual enrollment opportunities was because he did not believe he could be successful. Despite having aspirations and through no fault of their own, research shows that Black and Latino students, English language learners, and students from low-income backgrounds graduate high school and matriculate college at lower rates than their wealthier white and Asian peers. And they are quote-unquote less ready for college and post-secondary career opportunities. Inequitable policies, practices, and systems make college and career opportunities inaccessible to many students who wish to engage in advanced coursework, while often leaving those students unprepared for success. Research has identified many of the barriers that limit college access and preparation and career opportunities for members of this student group, and chief among them is inequitable access to dual enrollment opportunities. The Dual Enrollment Task Force through legislation was passed through legislation as a result of the governor's vision to have students leave high school with some level of credential. Through extensive finding and data, it has been shown that students of color and students from low-income backgrounds lack the necessary access to dual enrollment and are severely underrepresented in their access to this particular coursework. I've heard many arguments as to why this program is not necessary, but I will state that any time you look to equal the playing field, those from a privileged environment will give pause. When Ruby Bridges walked down the aisle to her classroom, the collective community was scared of what she would do with access to a high-quality education. They feared what she would do with exposure to the same amount of resources as her collective peers. The data in EBR alone shows that we have and continue to support an environment of haves and have-nots. We are okay with certain groups gaining access while continuing to leave certain groups behind. In order to support a more unified front, we must create access and inclusive environments that allow our students to thrive. During our student focus groups, we heard from Courtney Payne right here from Louisiana. I thoroughly enjoyed dual enrollment courses because of the challenges it gave me while in high school. I was able to learn more and apply those classes towards my college degree. Because of that, I graduated from Louisiana Tech University in 3 years and had more flexibility within my coursework. This allows me to change my majors, which I did, and still graduate in 3 years. I also had the opportunity to take AP courses while being enrolled in dual enrollment, and I would still recommend students have the access to dual enrollment, especially those who are pursuing higher education in this state. Courtney is now a medical assistant in radiology in St. Louis, Missouri, and will be attending medical school next fall. This is just one example of the many benefits of dual enrollment and one of the many ways we as a collective community can continue to lift our entire community. The harsh reality is that once some students graduate from high school, they will never walk across another stage. Imagine a world where every student who graduates from school in this city enters this world with some additional credentials or an associate's degree. My challenge is that we open up our eyes to the possibility, be aware of unintended consequences, and continue to push for better days for the children of this city. The time is now. We can do better, we will do better, we must do better to ensure that education excels our students for today, tomorrow, and the future. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and I look forward to a brighter day in Baton Rouge.
Board Member Howard. So let me just say a few things before we close. Number one, I tell folks, I may be the superintendent of this school district, but it takes a village to do this work. I'm only the facilitator and the coordinator of the village. I want to make sure everybody hears me tell them that. I am the superintendent of East Baton Rouge Parish School System, but it takes a village to move the work. I am only the facilitator and the coordinator of the educational village for K-12. I cannot do this work by myself. I am not Superman. I don't have special powers. I have not lived here 100 years before I can make a suggestion on what we can do better. But I am clear about one thing. I am clear that we live in a city that has untapped potential. We have historically lived through a lot of things in Baton Rouge. Whether that's becoming one of the last districts to desegregate, or that's becoming a city where we know that crime has gone up, and we have to keep kids busy, whether that's a city that we think some get education, some don't. What I'm pretty clear about this city, the city that I live in here with you guys, is that when we put our hands together and we don't let anything stop us, whether that's race, class, opinions, belief systems, all those things, we are clear that we can get it done. I ask you, as a superintendent and the facilitator and the coordinator of the village, do not let anyone stop progress. This is not about a race, this is not about privilege, this is not about class. All children in this city can do better. More importantly, we have to expect more from children and not less. It is adults who expect less, not children. There's not one child that you expose to higher level work that success does not happen. Jada and all the kids at Glen Oaks and every other child, whether you were at Bel Air High School, Baton Rouge High, Liberty, Tara, all these children can do well in our city. But adults, we have to say, today, we put children first and adults second. So with that being said, thank you again to each of you being a part of this exciting day. Together we'll create a cohort of young professionals who will help contribute and grow a vibrant and growing regional economy. We are removing barriers for children and putting children first in our system. Thank you for everyone who made this possible. Baton Rouge Business Report, Baton Rouge Area Chamber, BRCC, our commissioners at the state level, everyone who's made this possible, and school leaders and faculties and everyone else that will play a part for us to move this work together. Now the work begins. Let's make our city great, and let's make the new Baton Rouge, or the new East Baton Rouge school system, one of the best school districts in the state of Louisiana and in the country. Thank you for coming.